Chapter 16. Force Majeure. Day 58. Inventory critical. The mathematics of addiction are unforgiving. It is a simple equation of input-demand. Arthur Vane stood on the corner of Livonia Avenue in East New York. It was raining. A cold, gray drizzle that turned the trash in the gutters into a papier-mâché pulp. He was wearing a Burberry trench coat over his suit. He looked like a foreign diplomat lost in a war zone. He stared at the storefront of Kings County Pain and Wellness. There was no buzzer. There was no camera. The windows were covered in brown butcher paper. Across the glass door, a bright orange sticker had been plastered at eye level. It looked like a seal of doom. Seized. U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. For information call. Arthur didn't call. He didn't move. He just stared at the sticker, analyzing the typography. Helvetica bold. Official. Final. Analysis. Dr. Vance had been compromised. The no database policy was a vulnerability, not a feature. Cash leave trails. Snitches leave trails. Arthur felt a physical blow to his stomach, as if Miller had punched him. He had miscalculated. He had assumed the supply chain was static. He had treated Dr. Vance like a server that would always be online. He hadn't built a redundancy for a federal raid. "He's gone, Poppy." Arthur turned. A young man was sitting on a milk crate near the bodega, wearing a hooded sweatshirt. He had the sunken cheeks and pinprick pupils of an opioid user. "The doctor," Arthur said. His voice was tight. "When?" "Tuesday," the man said, lighting a cigarette. "Feds came in vans. Took the files. Took the pills. Took the old man in cuffs. It was a show." Arthur looked back at the orange sticker. He checked his mental inventory. He had burned through the 90-day supply in 44 days. He had escalated his dosage to 3,600 milligrams of gabapentin daily to maintain the glass box numbness. He had added Klonopin to the mix to sleep. Current stock: gabapentin, 14 capsules, 4,200 milligrams. Adderall, 6 tablets. Klonopin 0. He had 1 day of supply left. 1 day. Tomorrow was the quarterly review with Marcus Thorne. Arthur was supposed to present the Q4 projections. He needed to be sharp. He needed to be the machine. If he went into withdrawal tomorrow, he remembered the withdrawal mock-up on the bathroom floor. The shaking, the hallucinations, the feeling that his skin was burning off. He couldn't survive that in a boardroom. He would be exposed. He would be fired. The glass box would shatter. Arthur looked at the man on the milk crate. This was the crossroads. Option A: go to an emergency room. Admit addiction. Go to rehab. Lose the job. Lose the apartment. Option B: find a new source. Arthur Vane was a project manager. He didn't cancel projects, he found workarounds. "I need a bridge," Arthur said to the man. The man looked him up and down. He saw the Burberry coat. He saw the desperation vibrating under the skin. "You looking for oxys?" "Dope." "Gabapentin," Arthur said. "Neurontin." "Johnny's." He used the street name he had read on bluelight.org. The man laughed. A wet, rattling sound. "Johnny's? That's baby food, man. Nobody sells that out here. Not worth the risk." "I will pay a premium," Arthur said. He reached into his coat. He pulled out his wallet. He extracted $500. The man stopped laughing. He looked at the cash. Then he looked at Arthur's eyes. "You serious?" "Deadly," Arthur said. The man stood up. "I don't hold." But I know a guy on Pitkin, a bodega. He keeps bottles in the back for the mix. He uses it to cut the fentanyl. Arthur flinched. Fentanyl. That was a variable he couldn't control. That was death. I want sealed bottles, Arthur said. Pharmaceutical grade. No loose pills. You want what you want, the man shrugged. Come on. But tax is heavy for a suit like you. Lead the way, Arthur said. They walked 3 blocks. Arthur kept his hand in his pocket, gripping his phone, his thumb hovering over 911. This was inefficient. This was dangerous. This was the opposite of the sterile, controlled life he had built in Long Island City. But the cells in his body were screaming. They sensed the supply was low. They were sending error messages to his brain. Panic, sweat, terror. They entered a bodega. It smelled of stale beer and cat litter. The man spoke to the clerk behind the bulletproof glass in rapid Spanish. The clerk looked at Arthur. He looked at the cash in Arthur's hand. The clerk disappeared into the back. He returned a moment later with a brown plastic bottle. It wasn't an official pharmacy bottle. It was an old vitamin bottle, the label scraped off. He slid it through the carousel. 300, the clerk said. Arthur looked at the bottle. It wasn't sealed. I said sealed, Arthur whispered. Take it or leave it, Blanco, the clerk said. Arthur looked at the pills inside. They were yellow. They looked like gabapentin 300 milligrams. But they could be pressed fentanyl. They could be chalk. They could be rat poison. He looked at his hand. It was shaking. Analysis. Risk of poison, 20%. Risk of withdrawal during board meeting, 100%. Arthur put the money in the carousel. He took the bottle. He walked out of the bodega. The man on the milk crate asked for a tip. Arthur gave him a 20 and kept walking. He walked until he found a Starbucks. He went into the bathroom. He poured the pills onto the changing table. He examined them. The imprint code was IG-276. He Googled it. Gabapentin 300 milligrams. Amneal Pharmaceuticals. They looked real. The edges were sharp, not crumbly like street presses. Arthur felt a sob build in his chest. He choked it down. He wasn't a criminal. He was a director. He was just sourcing materials. He scooped the pills back into the bottle. He looked in the mirror. His skin was gray. His eyes were haunted. One more day, he told his reflection. Just get through the review. Then we taper. Then we fix the code. He swallowed 4 of the pills, 1,200 milligrams. He didn't know if they were real. He simply didn't have a choice anymore. The logic gates had closed. There was only one path forward, and it led down.